Hello, gentle viewer. Now, I don't know if you know, but word is coming out from Canada about the impending release of Cyberpunk 2077. Basically, we have a member of the, what is she part of? Cyber Help Center in Canada, in Quebec, and she's talking about how Cyberpunk is not emblematic of the type of video game she wants going out in the public and things like that. So let's get into the article. A video game with sex and violence arouses outrage. Arouses outrage. So let's go into detail here. It talks about how nudity, foul language, explicit sex, prostitution, suicide, and violence. The list of inappropriate content in the video game Cyberpunk 2077 is long, according to the Cyber Help Center. The organization challenges the legal government and asks it to intervene before the release of the product scheduled for this fall. Now, when it talks about Legault, it's talking about the current party in Quebec. So this is all about Quebec and about wanting to apply different standards to video games that are released in their region. Prime Minister. I was just reading it over, and it talks about how this is an open letter to Prime Minister Francois Legault. And Prime Minister is not. That's got to be an error, because there's a Premier of Quebec, which he might be. All right. So, anyways, let's just continue with the story. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be on sale September 17th, 2020 in Quebec on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. And as you know, it is a role-playing game in which the shooter walks around to pursue a quest. Okay. ESRB has already rated it and is basically saying 17 and up, or 18 and up, well, over the age of 17, and then people that can play this game, you know, it's rated that way. And she's like, its content is completely inappropriate regardless of age. She announces the Director General of the Cyber Help Center, Kathy Theroux. This is not the first nor the last game which will contain sexuality and extreme violence, but I think that we must react. We do not have the right for our children to sit idly by. She added an open letter. I mean, for real? This isn't a video game for children. And even if you're going to somehow let children play it, that's on the parent. Like, parenting. I get that that's her job to basically monitor this type of stuff, but to vocally cry out about it, like, anyways. So the reason for this, she's saying, is according to the first images and information transmitted on Cyberpunk 2077, she believes that this game broadcasts images harmful to the sexual education of young people and to women's rights. There are all different types of people represented in this game, trans people, things like that, but women's rights and sexual education of young people. Kids should not be learning about sex from a video game, period, exclamation point. Educate the population is what she wants to do, apparently. She does not believe that restricting the game to those under 17 is sufficient. According to her, her organization and many others are trying to combat this type of inappropriate message. The Director General reminded that this kind of game is detrimental to awareness-raising efforts. Quote, the content goes against what is acceptable, what we have to do at all times. She underlines. We're entitled to wonder what sort of message we want to convey to our young people. She believes that the Quebec government has the power to legislate. At some point, the content must also go with the actions. We try to educate the entire planet on aggressions. Well, that's getting lost in translation. This is all French being translated to English. And while, you know, people that can do that well exist. I mean, this is not coming across very straight. I want to ask the government to legislate what goes into Quebec. Can we make recommendations? Do we have to demand a way to demonstrate that we are 18 years old? Can we say we don't want this game? They already make you give ID typically at a game store if you're going to buy something that's for 18 and older. At least I would hope so. Ms. Thoreau recalls that exposure as well as overexposure to hypersexualized or violent examples and models tend to desensitize our young people to trivialize sexuality and violence. But it's not young people watching the game, it's adults. It's adults. And as this tacked on article says, no, violent video games don't lead to shootings. So stop pretending like you're protecting us from ourselves. Don't stop pretending like this is somehow corrupting and destroying the world when it's just entertainment. It's just entertainment. Now, she did follow up. There's like this folk is basically saying that she's responded to the reaction to her statements. She clarified, in fact, that she did not demand, request, or call to ban the game. No, of course not. We repeat day after day on all the stands that we do not oppose games or the internet. As if you could. On the contrary, we want to get the best out of it by reducing the harms of the worst. She recalled wanting to send an awareness message to inform parents. As an organization that has visited schools for 10 years, I continue to think that trivializing violence and sexual violence is not the best way to prepare our young people for healthy, egalitarian relationships based on respect for others. Modified the original article? Okay. See, because then, like, this is from, when did this come out, this article? On May 29th. This same person wrote another article about it on the same day. We're talking with another person about it. And basically trying to cover their butt here. Critics of the content of the video game Cyberpunk 2077, which is scheduled to be released this fall, are controversial. Industry stakeholders defending the filing system while calling for parental responsibility. And then it talks about how the Cyber Ops Center questioned Prime Minister Francois Legault about it. And then and talking about the reaction. Quickly, amateurs and members of the industry reached out on social networks. Developer and columnist for M2 Gaming Canada, Patrick Tremblay, believes that the Entertainment Software Rating Board, which assesses the age at which a video game is suitable, has done its job by selecting in particular the presence of images intended for an audience mature. I can understand very well, but we must keep as optical as much as video games as a film or a TV series. It is not necessarily reality, precisely it is fantastic, he specifies, stressing that the game takes place in a futuristic universe. Quote unquote. There's nothing in there that is truly human in and of itself, because most of them are androids or people that have been changed. The context does not lead to the current reality. And then talks about how in Cyberpunk 77, the player finds himself in the shoes of a mercenary and must find the key to eternal life on the streets of Night City. A straight string pulled, it will have a butterfly flecked in the game, he explains. Now it talks about the role of parents here. Video game columnist Steve Tremblay. Is it Steve? Why? Oh my god. First he was Patrick, now he's Steve. Maybe they're related. Maybe it's just different thing. No, it switches back to Patrick again. Jesus. Understands that the concerns of some. He admits that there is no need to sink into extreme violence, but he deplores the fact that video games are all so often signaled out compared to films or TV series, for example. I am a little mixed. I find it pocket. This is getting translated by Google, so it's clear there's some issues. I find it pocket that the video game eats the slap again, but on the other hand, I find that you do not need, as a developer or creator, to do so far in violence to make a good game, says the father. However, he agreed that many parents have a role to play. I know that even if it is written 18 years on the box, I'm not naive. I have teenagers at home. I know that young people under 18 will play Cyberpunk 77. Patrick Tremblay has a 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old boy. A few years ago, he had allowed his son, in his presence, to play Grand Theft Auto 5, also classified 18 and over. After a few hours with him, we had a mission where he had to go into a dancer's bar to go and coax a dancer. At that time, it was no. He thinks that the role of the parent is to supervise the child. If the parent decides to say to his child who is 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, yes, you have the right to play this game, the problem does not come directly from the game, but rather the parent who did bad parenting by allowing his child to play. According to Steve Tremblay, young people must be trusted. They are still exposed to that, and it is a shame, but at the same time, young people are intelligent. They know how to put things right. And then a quote here: it is in everyone's interest to raise awareness and inform the various clienteles about good practices and by relying on the regulatory systems put in place. Which is true. And for its part, the Quebec Video Game Guild, which represents studios based in Quebec, does not directly comment on Cyberpunk 2077, but encourages and advocates sound and good, safe, good practices with respect for individuals and especially under the supervision of parents. They write in a communication with Public Relations Director Andre Peltier. So yeah, there's a lot going on in Quebec right now about this video game that's coming out. It's kind of, there is a Cyberpunk, I think there's a studio in Montreal. I'm trying to remember. I know that CD Projekt Red has studios in other parts of the world. Or I might be thinking of Bethesda or BioWare. Well, same difference. So, but yeah, that's where we're at with this right now. People are complaining they want this video game to come under further scrutiny because of the scale and the detail of its world and how corrupt and evil it is, so to speak. And that's just not necessary. We already have things in place, the ESRB in place, to cover that. And then beyond that, it falls to the parent. The parent has to know what to do and how to manage the kid's use of the game. They can't just leave the kid to play a game and to babysit the game babysit the child while they do other things. They have to be consuming the content with the child so that they are not getting any bad information from it, or not taking away the wrong thing from that content or that media. That's what the parents there for, to help them process the media and understand it better, because they're going to be, everyone knows how things are that are older than, that have learned things over time, but kids don't. They see it and they take a first impression off of it. And without any context, without anybody to help, it's just going to be very difficult for them. So that's why there's a big demand for not the game, but the parents to moderate. So that's all I got to say for now about that. If you like the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.